Okay, testing. 1, 2. Testing.
Check sibilance. 1, 2, 3.
Sibilance. Now no one's watching us, so no one can tell us. Hey! Great! Well, let's start over again, shall we? Let's actually just go right back to the beginning. Let's go right back to the freaking beginning right here. Hello, and welcome once again to another episode of Bill Has Opinions, the Elizabethan problem with a drinking show. I am Laura Lavoie, and I'm joined here with Bill William Shakespeare Perkins, who has opinions.
Hark! What sound through your windows breaks? You know.
What?
When your windows. Your windows. Or iMac, whichever you're using.
Whatever,
Ubuntu,
yes.
whatever you're on.
Whatever you got going on there,
Yeah.
your iOS. Excellent. Well, in case you have not guessed so far, our show today is all about the bard himself, William Shakespeare. But let's get into how are you? Welcome to the show. What's going on in Bill's world?
Everything's pretty peachy, I guess. I'm trying to think. Are things okay? I guess things are okay.
Well, if you can't
if I can't find anything to complain about, I guess they are mostly. You know.
That's fair.
So yeah.
That is fair. Hey viewers, we have several. Actually, we probably have 2, but welcome. Welcome to the show, viewers.
Welcome to the show, people.
The,
I'm just gonna sit this guy
for now.
Back here.
Right here? Or right there? Right there?
I'm
Who is that again?
Poor York.
I knew him well.
well.
I learned a thing today. This
What
is
was
what I
that?
learned today. That you can, in fact, scatter someone's ashes in the water as long as you're like 3 nautical miles away from shore.
Okay.
I did learn that. I also learned that they make urns where you just put the ashes in it and then just toss the whole thing overboard and it disintegrates in the water.
Oh, because it's made out like gelatin, like a big pill or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I learned this, which means you could just dump mom overboard. Bye, mom.
Yeah, but you can also just go to the beach and fling her out, and by the time anybody complains, what the fuck are they going to do about it?
It's too late. It's too late now.
Well, I mean, we'll put her back in the can then, I guess.
Mom's in the water.
I mean, it's really just a technicality, that you can't do it.
I do.
Like, you have to get to me before I open the thing, really, to stop me.
That's true. Though I'm thinking, 3 nautical miles now, that's an excuse, to rent a boat. Let's just rent a boat, go out on the water.
Oh, are you suggesting? But wait, are you talking about my Viking funeral thing or something?
No,
else?
actually, I was talking about my mother, although she's not dead yet. She's not.
But you're talking about scattering her.
Yeah, she wants to be scattered in Lake Huron.
Oh, okay.
So you rent a boat. No, a Viking funeral. See, here's the thing. I don't think those are legal anywhere. But also, if by the time they put you on a boat and shove you out and then set you on fire, you are probably 3 nautical miles from shore.
Oh, I was talking about doing it over here in Beaver Dam Lake.
You can't do that. But
Yeah.
I mean, you can do that. You will do that.
I just told my family to do it and then scram. Like once the arrow is launched, say your shit before you set the boat on fire. Shoot the arrow and then and then when the cops show up at the house and say, "Ma'am, your husband's body was found charred on the lake," you have to act incredulous. You have to say, "What kind of monster would do such a thing?" You know.
It must be the rabid beavers of Beaver Lake.
It's something like that. You know, if you just act incredulous, then you'll get away with it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I guess. All right. So that has nothing to do with our show.
It sure doesn't.
At all. But so what beers are you drinking? You aren't drinking anything.
What beers have I drank? I had a couple of New Belgian titles. I had the
New Belgian titles.
the Mountain something or other, and then I had a whatever the tropical wheat one was.
Oh yeah, Summer Bliss.
Summer Bliss, yeah.
Summer
But
Bliss.
I'm done with those now, and I'm moving on. And since we were doing, this is probably the oldest beer from the UK, right? That we can get here.
I mean, that we can get here.
Right. So
probably.
I figured that was kind of mildly thematic. Maybe it's not.
It's not at all thematic, but go with it.
I mean, okay. I should have gone to the bottle shop this weekend and bought a themed beer that had a name.
Oh,
yeah. I don't know.
Because surely someone has made a Shakespeare themed beer.
I mean, that's probably true, but don't call me Shirley.
Bringing it back around to a conversation we had off the air, talking about Leslie Nielsen. So, I have here the Bonta, which you brought a while back.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
It's called a Paloma-style ale, tart and tangy, and it says it's made with grapefruit. Otherwise, I don't have any idea what this is. It's tasty, though.
You do like it?
I do. I like it very much. And then a friend left this Ponysaurus cherry ale here a while back, so I'm going to try that. But I'm guessing that one, it's an ale brewed with cherries. I'm guessing that'll be pretty cherry.
And sour. From the description.
Based on the description, does seem to be the case.
So, yeah.
So those are the beers we're drinking today.
There we go.
Tell us in the comments what you're drinking, because we're funnier when you're drinking.
That's right.
We're funnier when we're drinking.
All that.
Hopefully.
We're funnier when everybody's drunk.
That is also true. So let's get into the core of the matter. It's funny. So I always title this part the topic monologue, but the Shakespeare monologue is actually fits.
Man, well now you make me feel like I should have memorized.
I actually thought about telling you to memorize something.
Oh my gosh! And the thing is, the only one I know is actually the Alas Poor York. I probably know about 5 lines of, and I guess I might know a little bit of Romeo and Juliet, like the balcony thing or something,
Right.
But other than that, wait, no, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. We come to, what is it? Now I can't remember.
Yeah, good enough.
I know that it's the good men do is often turn with their bones, so let it be with Caesar. Something, I don't know. That's
something. I don't know.
I
don't know. I will tell you that the reason I changed my major from English to anthropology is because I absolutely hated the Shakespeare teacher I had my freshman year. Hated
like that passion. Drummed you out of it?
Yeah, I was done. I was like, nope, not doing this. I kind of regret it now. I kind of wish I had stuck with English because just one.
Just now you're a writer, and might be more pertinent.
I mean, one would hope, but.
But it doesn't really matter what you major in. You can do whatever you want to do, unless you're going into medicine or law or engineering. In which case, your major is very important.
You probably should do that. Heather has ears of corn. You are drinking ears.
That's
of
a weird metaphor, Heather, but okay.
But not Shakespearean ears. That's unfortunate.
I don't understand.
I don't know. We're just gonna go with it.
She has actual ears of corn.
I think she has, instead of beer, actual ears of corn.
Oh, she's eating corn while she listens to us.
I do think so.
I thought she was, trying to give us some flowery language, not unlike,
Not unlike William Shakespeare himself?
Yeah, it's like, sort of a sonnet.
All right.
Your lovely ears of corn.
Yeah, I could see that. You can keep going with it. We thought also about bringing you the show today an all-in-iambic pentameter, but we didn't.
Well, we didn't have time to write it all out. That would have taken a good week of planning on our part.
Probably.
And we usually do about 15 minutes of planning.
We do 15 minutes of planning, which usually includes me making random art.
When I say 15 minutes of planning, I mean we before the show we pour a couple beers and knock them back.
That is true. But Bill, tell me your actual Shakespeare monologue. How would you like to introduce this topic to the show?
Oh, I just wanted to say, shit, man, I don't know. I've always had a fondness for Shakespeare stuff ever since, being introduced to it. I think as a child, I just always thought it's funny because when I was a child, I thought Shakespeare was hoity-toity, because, it seemed like that was learned. That's one of the classics. You've got to know that, And then as I got older, and you actually learn about it and you realize that he was kind of it was the friends of his day, really, wasn't it? Everybody was into Shakespeare at the time. And his stuff was, and we were joking about this before the show, but now it's in retrospect, it's considered highbrow. We always, I guess just because we think theater is highbrow, because it's not something people do now. Like theater is theater and movies is movies, right?
Right.
But it was the movies. It was like going to see the new Marvel thing.
Yes.
Back then, and so it wouldn't have been considered highbrow. Although, I mean, the Queen would go do it too, because there wasn't fuck all else to do, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Like, it was like, I don't know, there were like 3 things to do in that town. There were get drunk, go to the theater, and fuck your cousin. And so, people will be like, hey, I hear there's a new Shakespeare this weekend.
They're
You
like,
go see it?
I'm not doing anything else today. Let's go do that.
Yeah, let's take care of that.
Yeah.
But, so I liked it because I was the kind of kid who put on airs, I guess. So I wanted to like it as a child. And then as I got older, I learned all these things and you realize, it was kind of, like I said, it was sort of lowest common denominator in its way back then. Or it was a little of both. I mean, it wasn't that it was stupid. He's a very smart guy and he wrote very witty shit, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, it did have mass appeal. Anyway, I want to fast forward to, I don't know what I was in. What grade was I in when Mel Gibson did that version of Hamlet?
Oh, God, I don't remember.
Probably a senior? Maybe I was a senior.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. I wanted to go see that. It was in the theater, right? I wanted to go see Hamlet in the theater. And I remember we drove to the theater to go see it. And it wasn't playing at the theater in Florence, which was the big town over from my town that had a theater. Actually had 5 different theaters, but no Hamlet anywhere in that damn town. So I ended up seeing Home Alone because that's what was playing also that week.
I mean, you could make an argument for that.
Okay.
That Shakespearean? You can't.
Was it 1990?
Apparently
okay.
it came out in 1990.
All right, I wasn't a senior then. I was. That would have put me as a sophomore.
Yeah, I would have been I started high school in '89, so like that. My freshman year was '89-'90.
But it was around Christmas when this came out.
I believe that's correct. Yes.
So anyway, the following week we actually made plans to drive to Columbia, which is the capital city of South Carolina, if you study your geography, and they were playing it at a theater there, and I went there and saw it, and I enjoyed it immensely because this was before Mel Gibson was out as a racist.
Yeah, before he kind of went off the rails.
Yeah, so you could still enjoy shit with Mel Gibson in it. And, of course, again, I thought I was being highbrow or whatever, and I obviously was because I was one of the 5 people in that theater to see that thing. Me and 3 friends were 3 of the 5 people in that theater.
Oh, it was also a Zeffirelli movie. Of course, he made one of the most famous interpretations of Romeo and Juliet.
The one we watched in high school.
The one we watched
where the teacher would get up and
cover the screen with
during
the
the one nude scene.
Yeah. We all have the same high school experience.
We all have the same teacher. It's crazy.
We all had that same teacher. We did Romeo and Juliet in 9th grade.
9th grade, yes,
yeah,
exactly.
And that's exactly
it. I remember Mrs. Hayes jumping up to hide the screen.
Yeah, my teacher.
And she called that scene "Good Morning, Olive Verona." As I
I remember her. I can't remember my teacher's name, but I remember her. She warned us she would be doing it, and she got just like a piece of paper and just casually walked up the screen and put it up, just covering like half of it, so you saw the top of the screen, and then casually took it away when we were done.
It's just funny to me that that's a universal thing. That's crazy, huh? Yeah, no, I saw that. Also, oh my God, if you ever want to see a very good, I'm taking a sort of an aside, but a very good, and I know he's problematic, probably more problematic than Mel Gibson, but this is a fucking great film interpretation of a Shakespeare film, the Roman Polanski Macbeth.
Oh, I have not seen that, and I do. Obviously, Roman Polanski is very, very troublesome.
Right, but this was made prior to his indiscretion, but after his wife was murdered by the Manson gang, so it's got a darkness to it that I think that kind of, maybe the incidents in his life brought to it.
Gotcha.
Anyway, yeah. So I like going to Shakespeare, but sorry, I really enjoyed the Zeffirelli Hamlet with Mel Gibson and Meryl Streep and all, and then I liked it so much. In fact, I was going to go see it again the following week Okay, because when I really liked a movie in the theater, I would go see it a couple times usually.
Sure, I did at that age too.
Yeah, something about when you were in high school. I guess it's because to harken back to what I said earlier, there wasn't fuck all to do.
Right, we didn't have the internet.
There was no internet.
We had movies.
There was get drunk, watch movies, or fuck your cousin. So,
I did only one of those things.
yeah, so same. And so I saw a lot of the same movie over and over again. If I liked a film, I would probably see it 5 times. The next week, I wanted to see Hamlet again, and I drove to Columbia again, which is an hour drive, by the way. I went an hour out of my fucking way to go see Hamlet again. This week, I got to Columbia, and Hamlet was out of the theaters.
Oh!
And I had to see Home Alone. Or rather, no, I didn't go see Home Alone, but I remember being disgusted because Hamlet was now out of the theater after 1 week run. But Home Alone was at the theater, and Home Alone, as I recall, was still in the theater until February or something, probably. You know, I think it had like a good 12-week run or something like that, and I was just like, this motherfucking shit gets to run for infinite amounts of time, but they take Hamlet out after a week. Like, this is what so I kind of saw like the decline of American society at that point in our life. So that's my big Shakespeare monologue.
Right.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! No, it's funny that it was a movie because what a lot of people say, right? Shakespeare is not accessible, and I firmly believe that's true in the way we teach Shakespeare by reading it in the classroom. Mm-hmm. Shakespeare is absolutely not accessible that way. Shakespeare needs to be watched. You have to watch it because the language, especially being Shakespearean language.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah.
You have to see the context, the whole thing, all together.
Because there's a lot of words that, if you're reading it, you have to stop and have like and this word means this. Mm. You know, I remember, I don't know which was it in Romeo and Juliet? There's one class. No, it was I think it's in Hamlet. They use the word niggardly, which does not mean anything to do with race. It's an archaic word for stingy, right? And the teacher has to have this whole fucking breakout aside, like, hey, this word's coming up and it means this and not that, and I don't want to hear any shit about it, and, you know. But it's always breaking up the action because the teacher has to constantly stop and explain what words mean like you said, if you're watching it, if you see it performed, you don't get hung up on the words because you can usually I see what's going on.
Yeah, the stage direction, the context, everything.
If I hear a word I don't know, I can just, it's like watching, if you're a white person and you're watching Fridays and they say something you don't know, you're like, I guess I can sort it out from the action going on.
Exactly. No, and I think one of the movies that I loved, and it came out I think I was in college. It came out the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes, where they modernized the set and the design and everything, but they kept all the language the same. Right. Which I think is brilliant. And I just read people now are talking, this movie came out 25 years ago, but people are still talking about it. People are like, they should have changed the language. I'm like, nah, you're wrong. People should have not changed the language. It's exactly perfect the way it is.
No, yeah, I don't feel that Shakespearean language is that fucking hard, honestly.
No, I mean, especially when you see it in context. I get it when you're reading it, but when you see it in context, you can figure that out.
Yeah, but it's like anything else. Like I said, where somebody's got a certain lingo. Right? Like if you watched a movie about the 1920s, do you expect them to go and edit the language or urbanize it or make it cool for today's people? Although I do think that sometimes when I watch movies and people say a certain phrase and I go, that fucking phrase didn't exist in that time.
Yeah, I thought that too.
That bothers me all the fucking time. I'll hear somebody say, oh my God, the worst thing I think is when I hear somebody say, how people say Einstein, to somebody who they, is acting smart. Right. And if it's in a movie that takes place in even during World War II, I'm like, was Einstein that well known during World War II? I feel like he wasn't well known until the 50s.
Not in 60s. That way. Not in the way that you would be like.
No, I feel like that's an 80s word. You would have said Poindexter back then or some shit, right? I don't know. They probably had another word or they would have said wise guy, or something,
Right, right.
That shit pisses me off. But anyway,
Well, and by the way, if you want to see a fairly modern, although it's not that modern by today's standards because it came out a long time ago, if you want a modernized version of Romeo and Juliet using modernized language, go watch West Side Story. It exists. We don't need to make another one. Romeo and Juliet was its own thing. And plus,
that's how I feel when if you like snapping. Yeah. There's a lot of snapping in that one,
Yeah, but I mean, it is a modernized Romeo and Juliet.
No, it is, for its time. And you remember the what was it, Scotland, PA? Did you remember that? It was a version of Macbeth.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
And it was like, it had the guy from Dune. What's his name?
Was it
Kyle MacLachlan?
Kyle MacLachlan. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like a businessman or something, and he's running this like business empire instead of being royalty or
anyway. Yes, I do remember.
I don't know that one actually. I think they did change it. It was just the plot was the same, but they changed the lyrics and then.
All right, I do because this is a bit we're committed to.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna pimp somebody. So I think we've recently pimped them before, but the Pop Project, which you can find at thepopproject.org. But I wanted to mention it because I'm certain that they have some Shakespeare available to you, and they're having trouble with volunteers right now and being able to plan events, so they can certainly use some money and help. So definitely check out how you can help the Pop Project at thepopproject.org. What they do generally is donate books to places that can't get books, like schools and prisons and things. So.
Gotcha.
So.
And do they have some of those little
free little libraries?
The free little libraries.
Yeah. In fact, you can talk to them about getting one wherever you are. So they will put one up.
Oh, okay. We already have one in my little town, so we don't really need two. It's a small town.
It's a small town, but they will do that. So.
Okay. But if you live in a place. And when I say in a place, I mean somewhere in the greater Asheville area, because if you live in Michigan or something, probably don't bother them with this because they're a local.
They are local to Asheville. Although I once got a bunch of stuff and donated it to my dad's assisted living facility in Michigan. So.
Oh, okay. So they're more than willing to help.
Yeah, I mean,
they're probably not going to come put a little library in your neighborhood if you live outside of the greater Asheville area.
Correct. But yeah, I got a bunch of books on tape from them. They were actually literally books on tape, books on CD.
Nice.
And took it to my dad's nursing home. And because they can't read. Yeah, well, my dad couldn't. He was blind.
Your dad was blind. Many people are on their way there. And
or they just don't have any attention.
Or just, don't want to read anymore because they have to have glasses or whatever.
Right. We'll just listen to stuff. All right. So let us continue on. So I think now is a fine time, because everything else we're going to be talking about from here on out, this fits that. We have our sound system set up in such a way.
You took the scream out.
No, the scream's there. We just can't hear it.
I just can't hear it.
We can't hear it because we had to mess with our audio and at the last minute.
Sorry.
So I promise everyone else can hear it.
Very well.
So I could do it again just for fun.
Do it, yes.
Okay. I like the alarmed Elizabethan man that I found for it.
Is that what you typed in the Google search? Alarmed Elizabethan man?
I was very proud of myself. This is what I do when I'm avoiding doing like work that pays me. Is I make graphics.
It's so funny because sometimes on Mondays she'll act like she's got so much work to do, and then
sometimes I do,
and then 15 minutes later she sends me a silly graphic, and I'm like, I thought you had fucking work to do.
I do, but then
it's like I do, I just don't want to do.
Yeah, that is the actual truth right there. That is for sure true. All right, so I've got a long list of things, and we have a half an hour to cover them. So, I mean, among things, we could talk literally. I mean, people take seminars on this subject at universities. So,
I know, right?
I mean, not just individual subjects like comedies, tragedies, histories, sonnets. So we don't have to cover all of those. So let's jump right into this. What are your favorite Shakespeare plays?
My favorites are, I love Hamlet. I love Macbeth. Those are my two favorite of the tragedies, I suppose, right? And then I like all the comedies. I don't really, I guess Much Ado About Nothing and Taming of the Shrew are probably the two I've seen the most. So, but I've seen Midsummer Night's Dream. Oh, I saw the hip hop version of Midsummer Night's Dream they did at Shakespeare in the Park.
We went. I think we went to that together.
Did we go to that one? Yes.
Our local Shakespeare in the Park, which, by the way, almost every community has a Shakespeare in the Park. So
Absolutely.
Do that. Most communities, when they do it, it's free.
Yeah. Because it's the park, they can't keep your ass out.
Exactly. But I know, like, Atlanta has a Shakespeare theater, and those aren't free, but they do some incredible work there. One year we went and they did an unfinished play. I can't even remember what it was called, to be honest, because their goal was to perform every single Shakespeare title, like, regardless. So they just, like, we're doing this unfinished play because we can.
Right. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. No, I've seen them in places.
Is there a chip on your glass? That's unfortunate.
I don't know.
Oh, maybe there isn't. Anyway, I just want to protect my friend. I want to make sure he doesn't cut himself.
Well, I'm done with the beer at this point, so it's a little late.
It's too late now. I just saw it. Fuck you then. But but Shakespeare in the Park is usually free, and we saw our friends, the friends who have since moved to Las Vegas,
right?
Performed in a hip hop rendition of Midsummer's Night's Dream, and it was super fun.
It really was. It was good. That's a good performance. I always enjoy that. I wish I got to it more times a year than I do. I think I typically, it's been a couple of years now because of the stuff, but,
right.
But there's actually even a Shakespeare in the Park down in Tryon, which is closer to my house. And they were doing a thing last month, and I wanted to go, but then just life got in the way. You always have to But anyway, if you have a Shakespeare in the Park, I recommend people go to it. One of my things I wanted to talk about was one of my future life goals.
Oh yeah, I had that. Yes, things I'd like to do in the future is written down.
One of the things I'd like to do is at some point I want to have a house party, and when people come over, I want to do this thing I call Shakespeare on the porch. And that is, as you arrive at my house, I hand you the manuscript for the play, and I assign you a part. And then once everyone has arrived, we all adjourn to the porch, and we just do a reading, like a table read of whatever play it is.
Oh, I think that'd be so fun.
Right?
fun.
I think it would be.
Yeah.
And then the great thing about it, I think, is then you can put it on your resume when you go out for like little theater or whatever, and they say, well, what have you been in? And you can say, well, I had the part of Othello in Shakespeare on the Porch. And they'll be like, what now? And Shakespeare, what? And you'll have to explain the whole thing. And they'll go, oh, okay, I guess that's a thing. So that's a thing I've always wanted to do and will do eventually, because if I want to do a thing, I eventually will.
I absolutely love that idea, and I think you should totally do it.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I had some other things I was going to address. Another thing I would like to do, this is a funny story, but I was, so I've got a bunch of ideas for screenplays in my head that I've never written any of them down. I've got the idea. I've got the kernel of the idea. I know what they're about, and I need to start writing them. Most of them are made for sci-fi movies. They're like really stupid. Like this one called Vampirosaur, and this one called Space Shark. And anyway, I had told my son back when he was like 8 years old about Space Shark and Vampirosaur, and he was like, wow, those are great ideas. And so one day, I got to rewind a little bit. So one day I'm talking to a coworker at my job, and this was several years ago. This is, like I said, this is back when my kid was 8. He's going to college now. I'm talking to this coworker, and I was explaining to him what a ripoff of Hamlet, the Lion King was, right? And of course, I feel like everybody knew this, but this guy was acting like this was fucking news to him.
Oh, no, I mean, Disney said as much. So
I thought the first 15 minutes, like as soon as Scar pushed the guy off the cliff, I'm like, hey, this is Hamlet.
Yeah, no, it is 100% Hamlet.
So anyway, I'm telling this coworker who's acting like I'm blowing his fucking mind that Lion King is just Hamlet with cartoon lions. Anyway.
And catchy Disney tunes.
And and song and dance, yeah. But then, like, later that week, like, it was like a Friday afternoon, my ex-wife drops my kid off at my work, because it was just more convenient for her to drop him off there. It was like she got in there about 4, I get up at 5. I was just like, yeah, he can hang out for an hour, whatever the fuck. So he's hanging out, and he's asking me while he's hanging around. He's like, "Hey, Dad, you got any more cool screenplay ideas?" Because I had told him about Space Shark and Vampirosaur, and I didn't really. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pretend I do have an idea. Okay, you don't care for this one.
This is not good, people.
This is why it was given to you.
That's why it was free in my refrigerator and somebody left it behind. Oh, well, that's not tasty.
So he says, "You got any good ideas?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do got a good idea." And so I start rattling off this stupid thing. It's called Crisis on Planet X, and I'm like, Prince Mysore is he's forlorn because his father has just died, but he's got an inkling of a suspicion that maybe his uncle had something to do with it, And I go into this whole thing. I think I get like 30 minutes into the play, right?
Right.
But it's all taking place, and these people are, of course, they're like lizard men who live on this other planet.
So like a good B sci-fi movie.
That's what I'm saying. It's like a good B sci-fi movie.
For sure.
But it's basically just but anyway, I get like a good 30 minutes into the plot. Like I think I get to like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern before he goes, so my son says to me, "This is just Lion King." And then the guy, my coworker, hears that and he just cracks up, and we all have a good laugh about it. But anyway,
really funny.
So this all started out as just me like bullshitting my son, right? But ever since then, I keep thinking, wouldn't it be awesome to do a really bad B sci-fi movie that's just Hamlet in space?
I think it is a good idea.
So eventually, and I've even thought about maybe after the success of Shakespeare on the Porch, maybe producing like a Shakespeare in the Park version of Crisis on Planet X, which is basically I'm going to go through Hamlet and just cross out all the fucking names and change them to something that sounds spacey.
Right. You could change like the order of words and things to make it sound if you wanted to.
Right.
Like,
and I'll take swords and make them into ray guns.
Yeah,
or
slightly
laser
less
swords or something, but.
You don't have to do the full, Romeo plus Juliet treatment, where you're just like, here, our swords are our guns. See, on the gun, it says it's a sword. See how that works?
Yeah, no, it won't be like that. It'll just be like, it'll be 85% Hamlet in space with lizard guys. So I just think it'd be funny as fuck, right? Like,
I agree. It's funny that you mentioned Rosencrantz and Guildenstern because I did not write that down, and I wish I did though.
Yeah.
Because Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead was a Tom Stoppard novel / screenplay / movie.
Play. I saw it at the National Theatre in London.
Yes.
My first night in London, which is not a good time to go see a theater performance, by the way, right when you just flew.
Yeah, because you're a little jet lagged.
You're a little jet lagged. I slept through most of it. But here's the thing. So it was closing that night. And so I wanted to see it. I'll say this. This is what I can say about it. The costumes, fucking fantastic. and that's what I can recall.
That's the last thing you remember.
I was like.
But so, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead is a fantastic. Have you seen the movie, though? Have you at least seen it since? The movie.
I didn't see the movie. No.
Oh, you should. You should go home tonight and watch the movie because it's
I'm
really
not
good.
Time for that. I'll be tired.
Yeah, well, all right. So, like this.
I'll say the costumes were great.
The costumes are great. It is really good. I mean, it is the.
Oh wait, no, I did see the movie. Yes, you're right.
Tim Roth.
I did see it. Yes, I now remember it because I remember the scene on the boat when they're when Hamlet changes the orders or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to point out, because it was not on my list, but if we're talking about adaptations of Shakespeare that then become adaptations of Shakespeare, right? So Rosencrantz and Guildenstern were minor characters in Hamlet, and then Tom Stoppard wrote this play, and their minor characters turned major characters. So all the action is happening around them as it's happening.
Yeah,
folks, that's The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian is Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. All the things happening in the universe are happening around them. Everything that we see in the movies is not happening to Mando and the child.
Mm-hmm.
It's all happening around them. It's basically Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Interesting.
Yes.
I hadn't thought about that.
That is my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
Folks.
That's pretty clever. What else did I say I want to talk about?
Let's see. Well, you said Frasier, and I was very curious about that.
So Frasier follows the same formula as all of Shakespeare's comedies, which is the classic mix-up.
Oh,
In the beginning of every episode of Frasier, and Frasier did this for what, fucking 8 or 9 seasons?
Yeah.
Every episode was the same fucking thing. Somebody hears something, and they get mixed up about it, and they spend the entire episode planning for this thing, and it turns out to be that thing. And it's basically just a Shakespearean sort of formula.
Right.
And so that's why I said I feel like that Shakespeare is a big influence on the show Frasier, if you watch Frasier. And I liked Frasier. I felt like it was artfully done, and I really enjoyed it. But I remember, like, during the middle of, like, the 3rd season going, ha, this is funny. And then I was like, oh, this is just like Shakespeare over and over again, really. But I love it because it's fucking great,
Yes. Yes. And so to favorite Shakespeare plays, Much Ado About Nothing is also one of my very favorites.
Mm-hmm.
I can watch that over and over and over again. I can watch it performed live. I can watch movie versions of it. My favorite adaptation of it was Kenneth Branagh's Much Ado About Nothing. But Joss Whedon, who is a terrible person, also did a version and is very good, except he's a terrible person. So
well, he did a lot of things, but he's a terrible person.
Yeah,
I mean, he's like just one of those terrible people who had good work, like Roman Polanski.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care for Roman Polanski as a person, but there's several of his films that I think are good films, and I'm sorry if I feel that. But
hey, it has been pointed out that Shakespeare is Beavis and Butthead too.
Is that right?
Apparently,
Okay.
that's what Doug says.
All right. I wish you would elaborate a little, but
I mean, he can. We're gonna put that out right now to our audience.
Yeah. Give me some backup on that. I'm curious. It sounds like an interesting discussion.
Show your work. I want you to show your work. So Kenneth Branagh, of course, he made multiple.
Oh yeah, he did a version of Hamlet too.
He did a version of Hamlet. It's not my favorite.
It was right on the tails of the other one though, so it was kind of like
right.
Yeah, okay. And I mean, I know that's mostly, and this is about when Kenneth Branagh and
Emma Thompson
were married, and so
yes.
they did like a handful of those things. And then, of course, also you would get Helena Bonham Carter and like every other Shakespeare thing.
He ended up marrying Helena. No, he dated Helena Bonham Carter for a while.
No, it was Tim Burton.
Tim Burton married her, but he did date. I think that's when he split up with Emma Thompson.
But yeah, she was in like every third.
Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't just Shakespeare. It was any corset movie that came out.
Yes.
You would see her in it because it was like they'd ask like 7 actresses, "Hey, will you wear a corset?" She's like, "No," and then they ask Helena Bonham Carter, and
she's like, "Sure,
of course, I'm wearing one right now.
Sure, I'll do that." But my absolute favorite Kenneth Branagh adaptation of a Shakespeare movie is one that does not get a lot of love.
Okay,
it's Love's Labour's Lost. It is a musical. Ah. And it stars, of all people, I mean, it stars Kenneth Branagh.
I was going to say, imagine this, Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, I mean, because he's in every movie he makes, right? He's very...
There's a reason he was cast as Gilderoy Lockhart.
It was because he is literally Gilderoy Lockhart. So, but it has Alicia Silverstone and Matthew Lillard and a bunch of other people. And it's a freaking musical. And it's done in 1920s, 1930s style. But all the language is the same and then random songs. And it's beautiful. It's awesome. It's colorful. It's fun to watch. I guess 30s, 40s maybe. It's more the era. So I highly recommend you find yourself a copy of Love's Labour Lost and watch that. Because it is very good.
Yeah.
And then we also wanted to mention a couple of like random shit, like things that aren't Shakespeare but are, like 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah.
It's an adaptation.
And
in the same vein, that like teen movie version,
right? They
made O, which was Othello, but it was like teenagers in college.
Okay.
Also starring Julia Stiles.
Okay.
Because she's in like all those teen movies.
Any teen movie that involves an interracial relationship has
it was Julia Stiles.
I gotta say this. Julia Stiles was my like favorite. Oh my god, like she was my favorite actress during that period, and it's because you know what? She's a beautiful girl, but she's not a beautiful girl in like a fucking supermodel way. She looks like a beautiful girl who lives across the street.
Like a real beautiful girl.
Yeah, like a regular beautiful girl. Like, and I always said that, like, as of all the actresses, like, she's the one I was like, oh man, like, I like her a lot because she looks like a regular pretty girl.
Yeah, no, I was down with Julia Stiles. I watched all those movies. What was the one where she tried to go to Juilliard for dancing or something?
Save the Last Dance.
Save the Last Dance.
Yeah.
Another interracial relationship for Julia
Yeah,
Stiles.
exactly. That's what I was thinking. It was like every time I've probably seen Save the Last Dance like 3 times.
I know she has been in other stuff since then.
She was on a internet series where she played a escort, like a single mom who was also an escort. It was called Blue, and I don't remember what platform. I think it might have been on YouTube Plus or something like that. That was really good, but I think it got canceled. That was the most recent thing I saw her in. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I mean, she's been in a handful of things, but all right, what else we got? Shakespeare in Love. We should probably talk about Shakespeare in Love. That was a movie that came out.
That was a thing that happened.
That was it was Joseph Fiennes back when he was young and not creepy on Handmaid's Tale.
Mm-hmm.
And who was the main female character?
I want to say Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yes, Gwyneth Paltrow, indeed.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was completely a made-up movie about Shakespeare. But
right.
There's another movie if you want to watch. It's called. You can take all the notes. It's actually called George Lucas in Love, and it was like a fan movie.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's super funny.
Yeah, it was a goof on
It was
Shakespeare
totally
in Love.
a goof on Shakespeare in Love.
Yeah, I didn't like. I remember going. I think I saw Shakespeare in Love in the theater, but I thought it was dorky and stupid.
I think I did too. But like at the
end of it, I was put out with it before I was done watching it.
And mind you, so like there's a large school of thought that not every Shakespeare play was written by Shakespeare.
Oh right, yeah. I think all of his plays were written by Christopher Marlowe.
You're a Shakespeare denier?
No, I'm just bullshit. I just think it's funny to say. I actually say that when anybody says anything. Like the other week when we were talking about the Bible, and you said something about
it was Homer. It was the Iliad.
Oh, you think that like there were more than one voice in this thing?
So it's the general assumption is that Homer did not exist. There was no
Homer.
There's no single Homer. Yeah. And I'm referring not to the Dan Castellaneta voice comic character. I am referring to the actual poet.
And I said to her, I think Homer was Christopher Marlowe. It was something like that. Like anytime anybody says anything was like not written by this person.
And I think my answer, because this is all over text, I think my answer was ...
But that's just, it's because there was a bit on, I don't know, there was some stupid, you remember the comedy show The State?
Oh yes.
It was like a kind of a goofy skit comedy show, but everything, like, instead of being like topical political humor, it was all just wacky fucking surreal shit.
Yes.
Most of the time.
Yes.
And they had this one bit one time where somebody was like confessing something to, like, you know, hey, I got something I got to tell you, and he starts to tell something, and then some other character pops up and says, one guy pops up and he's got like a hook for an arm, and he says, "I killed another man's wife and framed him for it." and then Shakespeare pops up and goes, "Christopher Marlowe wrote all my plays." And it was Ian Thomas Black who did something, and I was like, "Ha ha!"
Ian Michael Black.
Ian Michael Black. So I was like, "Ha ha!" That's so fucking funny. You know?
I've been on a cruise with Ian Michael Black, and Matt, who is making pizza for us right now, played poker with Ian Michael Black one night. And not only that, but they were playing poker, and the games were over, and Ian Michael Black invited him back to his stateroom to play more poker, and Matt said no.
Huh?
Why do you do that? You don't say no. He came back to our room and went to bed. And I'm
like, I got invited to play more poker, but hell with it.
I was invited to play more poker with celebrities. No, and he was tired. I mean, it was like 3 a.m.
I mean, I don't know. When you're tired, you're tired. Honestly, it's just fucking bullshit. Like, celebrities are just people, right? At the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
I mean, I already fucking played poker with him, so what difference does it fucking make?
That's true. Yeah, the same game he played with.
I mean, if he was being funny, if he was just like telling jokes or something.
He might, but he's not that kind of comedian, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah, he's more of a, like I say, he's more of a skit.
The State.
Yeah, he's more of a skit comedian who riffs off other people. So if you were telling jokes, he might be able to like.
Yes, correct.
Like if I was playing poker with him, we could have gone back and forth. However, I'm not a very good poker player, so that would, like, he would be like, "You suck. We're not going to play any more poker tonight."
Well, Matt is a really good poker player. That's
Well,
probably why he was invited back, right?
I assumed as much. I mean, I don't think he got invited because, like, oh, you're awful. Can you want to come back to my room and I can take you for everything you're worth?
True. But he also played poker that same game he played with Will Wheaton, who got busted out and was...
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton. Will Wheaton. Yes,
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you, this is a total sidetrack, but do you watch Nailed It on Netflix? You know, the baking show where people make things badly?
No.
It's
I don't understand. Because it seems like a setup. It seems like, I don't know.
The people that go on it know they know that they're on there to do that, and they're excited about it.
Yeah, but I mean, but then it seems like untrue, like they're trying to fuck up. And
They might be.
And then, I don't know, it's like one thing to fuck up and it be like an accident that you fucked up. But it's another thing to, like, I'm purposely fucking up. And so that takes away from the authenticity.
They also give you, like, half the amount of time that they would give, like, even decent.
So you don't even have time to cook a thing.
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No, yeah, it's all a setup. I mean, but all reality television is. Like, it doesn't
I'm
matter.
aware that
It
it's all dramatized. And you know, like, Christopher Marlowe wrote the you know, Christopher Marlowe wrote the script for Home Finders or whatever, you know.
Exactly. Also, this is correct. You mentioned, and I don't think I wrote it. Oh yeah, my favorite Dire Straits song.
Oh, my favorite Dire Straits song. Yes, the Love Struck Romeo.
Yeah, I know.
Sings the streets a serenade.
Interestingly enough, that is my favorite Indigo Girls song.
You know, I was introduced to it through the Indigo Girls version, but then I found out it was a cover and was curious about it. I am very interested in songs where there's a gender swap in the delivery. I think it's neat. It gives you like a different feel. You know, like I loved the Lyle Lovett version of "Stand by Your Man" for that reason, because there's like this juxtaposition of expectations or whatever. But I went back and listened to it, and I've heard it several times since then. And of course, I love Mark Knopfler's guitar playing for one thing. I mean, he's probably one of the 3 best guitarists who's in a band that doesn't rock and doesn't get any credit for being a good guitarist because he's not in Van Halen or whatever, you know. But anyway, it's a good song. It's a well-written song.
I like both versions.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good because it's a well-written song.
Yeah.
And he wrote the song, so there's that. You know, regardless of who you want to hear sing Romeo and Juliet, it's a good song, and that's all I was saying. And the song wouldn't exist had there not been a play.
That is true. That is that. Well, and that shows the deep cultural roots of Shakespeare. Like
it's why it's part of the canon of like the shit you're supposed to know. It's the reason that they make you read 4 Shakespeare plays when you're in high school. So for the rest of your life, when you see Lion King or you hear Dire Straits or whatever the fuck, you go, oh, I get that. I got that reference.
However, I will admit it is an incredibly Eurocentric white version of literature. Like that's what we as a culture, like as a monolithic culture, are forced to know Shakespeare, but we don't get to learn a lot of other cultural stuff.
I just thought about another reference, Renaissance Man. The movie with Danny DeVito and what was the guy? The dancing guy, you know.
The dancing guy?
You know, he played the drill sergeant in this movie, but he was in White Nights with Mikhail Baryshnikov, the black dancer guy.
Oh,
Hines.
What?
Gregory Hines.
Gregory Hines.
That is the guy, yes.
The drill sergeant.
That got shouted to us by our faithful listener.
They played the drill sergeant in Renaissance Man. Well, anyway, the plot of Renaissance Man is there's a bunch of like guys who were so bad that they're about to flunk out of the army. And Danny DeVito is an English teacher who gets hired to somehow or another straighten them out or something.
It's a military version of the Dead Poets Society.
Kinda, yeah. And he inspires them through Shakespeare somehow. And, you know, but they're able to internalize the themes in Shakespeare, and it makes them both better people and better soldiers somehow. Somehow, I don't. That's a but
leap.
The scene where the one guy recites the scene from Henry V in the rain is a beautiful fucking scene, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. Well, Shakespeare permeates our culture.
I wanted to mention this briefly before we run out of time. Falstaff, minor character who's in more than one Shakespeare play. Shakespeare knew that when you had a minor character who worked like that, who was just like a narrator who was there to like scoot the story along,
right?
To keep them as that character. He never made a play that was like Falstaff Strikes Back.
Right.
And I'm saying this for Kevin Smith, who doesn't understand that his Falstaff characters, Jay and Silent Bob, are better in small doses.
No, I completely agree with that. Completely agree with that. Yes. Okay. Yes. No. And yeah, Shakespeare was really good at that, or Christopher Marlowe, whoever it was.
Whoever.
Yeah. Well, that's what you get a story. I guess you could say like a story like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead is basically fan fiction.
It is. It's totally fan fiction.
Because they're like, hey, these are some characters. We want to know what they were doing.
Right. What was this guy? And I can see somebody now like taking Falstaff and like deciding to do a whole movie about Falstaff, but it might suck or it might be different because it's a different person handling. Sure. I'm saying if Shakespeare had done it, it would suck. Because every time I've ever seen somebody do that, where they take a minor character in a thing, and then they blow that character up into a big thing, it sucks.
Yep.
And I'm saying this ahead of time: Boba Fett will suck. Mark my words.
All right. Well, we'll come back to this after the Boba Fett series, and we'll revisit that concept.
You guys will be like, oh, that sucked.
All right. So we are on that note. Let's get to the end of the show. We don't have a mailbag today, but please send in your questions to our Facebook page or comment below or whatever. But I know you have things that are extra today.
Right.
Do you remember what it is? Airbnb platitude.
Oh my God, yeah. So last week, as you recall, I was coming to you live from the lake. We were staying in an Airbnb, and their entire decorating scheme, like they didn't have any art on the walls. They only had those fucking like things that have words on them, it's like togetherness and live, laugh, love and all that bullshit, and it's just so funny to me. I'm like, that's goofy as shit. Like that's somebody's decorating styles to put words on the wall. Like, that's all they had though. All they fucking had.
When you come next time, I'm just gonna handwrite a bunch of random words.
It used to say beer, right?
It did actually.
Beer.
I did have a bunch of beer.
But I can agree with that at least.
Yeah, they were platitudes, but they were like, beer is the reason I get up in the afternoon. So.
But no, when you go to,
I still have those signs if you want them.
When I used to try to give those.
I am, but if anyone wants a bunch of beer signs,
I think there was one I might be mildly interested. Anyway, I'm just getting it like so it occurred to me this would be funny if I ever find myself in a situation where I have money to buy a rental house. I'm going to decorate it with wordy platitudes, except for I'm gonna like put like a twist on, so they're like a little bit like fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like they start out like platitudey enough, and then at the end they get weird.
Yes. Do you remember? What was it called? So there's been that the whole internet where we have AI create various.
Yeah.
And this was I think it was called Inspirabot.
Yeah, I remember that. They made like the little like the inspirational posters from work.
It was randomized.
Yeah, and they would be like just screwy.
Yeah, and
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I want to do something like that and just put that shit all through my rental house so that when people rent my house, they're like, "The fuck is this? Is weird as hell."
I think you can still get to that website, so you could just randomly generate AI.
I'll do that, and then I'll just get like a scroll saw and I'll cut this shit out of wood and hang it up on the wall.
Because I was obsessed with it for a while, so I was just making them.
Yeah, I did the same. I remember doing that and being like, haha, that's funny. Ha.
Exactly. And they would do them like posters, like the.
Yeah, you put like a picture of a mountain or something behind it.
Like an inspirational
eagle
poster.
Soaring or something.
One I remember was something like baconize your future, and I was like,
why not?
That is not bad advice, really.
I mean, you might not live long, but you'll live large.
Literally, I don't need any help in that department. But all right, okay. So I think we are actually done with the Shakespeare show. Shakespeare in the bag. Next week, we had to shift some things around, so I actually have no idea what next week's show is about.
Well,
you'll find out with us next week.
We shall talk about it.
We will indeed. But can you take us away?
Alas, Bill has opinions was engineered and produced by Laura Lavoie. The opinions of Bill are his and Yorick's and nobody else's. Unless Laura agreed with them, and then they're also hers. They're definitely not the opinions of our non-paid sponsor spot. And be sure to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube, and follow us on Facebook, and mention us with hashtag Opinion Gang on any of the social medias. Send us a mailbag question.
That is funnier than it should be.
And I guess that's about it. Huh?
That's it. That's it for us.
All right. Where be your gibes and gambles now, sir?
But we will be back next week with an all-new show about something.
There you go.
See you then, everybody.